Welcome to Port Wollonga. I've been here once before at sunrise, but today I'm here for a little sunset. We may or may not have any luck, but that's the nature of landscape photography, isn't it? Is you just never know what the weather's going to do. We've got some interesting clouds about, and also just to foil us, there's a little bank of cloud which I'm hoping will shift on the horizon. So we're about an hour and a half or so away from sunset. As you can tell, that sun is quite strong. But I thought I'd take a couple of long exposures just to get myself into the swing of things. So I've set up here quite a way back actually from our subject that you can see in front of us. So what we're looking at photographing are these little pylons here, and I just wanted to use my long lens a little bit and just do some long exposures, compressing those clouds up tight against those pylons. And I can feel that sun's just being edged behind a cloud, so I want to get on while there's no direct sunlight really pounding on these rocks, and take a couple of shots just here. So I'm going to do that, and then hopefully we'll work our way in, changing lenses as we go, taking advantage of perspective that the different lenses will give us. So at the moment I've got the 100 to 200 on. I'm at f/16 at the moment, but I can change that at a whim because there's only really these pylons in focus. So I'll do that for the time being, and let's see what we come up with. So at the moment it's at 1/40th of a second, and when that sun comes out, that rapidly changes. So I'm going to wait for that just bank of cloud to move in front of the sun, and then we've got a degree of stability with the light, and then we'll go for it. I've lowered the ISO down to ISO 50, and that's now given us a 20th of a second, and if I remember correctly, I think a 20th of a second should give us approximately a minute exposure with a 10 stop. So that's what I'm going to do. A minute might catch those clouds moving. They look like they're moving quite well. So I'm just going to pop the filter holder on first of all. There's no need of any additional filters at the moment, I don't think. What I'm going to do is just make sure that I focus in on one of those pylons I should say, and then lock that focus just as you can see here, and then I'm going to pop on our 10 stop, which will make it go quite dark. How dark, we won't know. There we go. It's almost like sunglasses. It's not that dark at all. So we know that at this exposure we should be able to get a full minute. So I'm going to go into manual. I'm going to push our exposure up. And you can see that brightening up there. A minute. I'm just going to check the histogram, which looks okay, and I'm just immediately just going to go with that 2-second timer at 100mm, f/16 and ISO 50. So we'll go for a minute and see what we get. So I think we'll change our lens now and we'll move on a little closer and see what we can pick up. Okay. Yeah, go. That's fine. No problem whatsoever. let's just drop you there for a second while I get this composition worked out. Okay. So I think we're going to go portrait here. There's a lot of wasted space to the left and right. So I'm just going to flip this over and get into portrait orientation. That should do us. And we will have to focus stack this. Now at the moment I've got the 10 stop on, so I'm going to whip that out, pop it back down to aperture priority. And see what it's giving us at ISO 100. So ISO 100 is giving us an 80th of a second. And now we can start to see, you can see how that works. It said an 80th, that's what it said with aperture priority, and that does preserve those clouds, but I think we can go just a touch brighter with those, just like this. And I'm going to start, because I can't see the foreground, focusing on those pylons. Done. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase that now, and I'm going to focus now on this mid-ground. We'll take that, and now we're going to take this foreground, which I know is quite dark, but that's fine. I'm happy with that for the time being. I can bring those shadows out when necessary in post. And that's a nice little image. And as always, I'm going to see what we can get if we focus in on those pylons. Just going to lock the focus on there. And I'm going to come back just a touch to a 20th of a second. I'm going to pop in the 10 stop. Carefully, of course. And this is to get some movement in those clouds. And then I'm going to pop this up to, as we did before, we got a minute. Keeping an eye on that histogram, because although I want the clouds to move, I probably have to come down a touch. Right, it's not going to quite do it. I'm considering putting a 3 stop also on. I'm not considering it, I've done it. So we throw a 3 stop on, and now let's see what we get. It says 2 minutes, 1 minute definitely okay, 2 minutes, 2 minutes it is. So I think we're going to, I'll take the 3 stop off, and I'll take the 10 stop off too. Oh, here's the water. Just while we've got an opportunity to capture waves. You've just seen that one come in. I'm hoping that's not the last of the waves that will come in. The focus on this front rack as the water comes in. The 2-second timer, so I'm timing it hopefully right. There we go. Water coming in. Sounds like a good one. Beautiful. Beautiful. So let's make a move and try and pick up yet another composition. Now here, this is the go-to shot of every photographer, straight down the guts. But with this one, I am going to adjust and have a look at our polarizer. So we want the polarizer off. You can see there, no glare on the sand. This one really pushes the glare up, so no glare. I want a nice big wave coming in. I'm going to just adjust that focal length. I can afford to open up the aperture a bit because I want a 1 second exposure. And let's see if we get a nice one coming in now. It's not far enough. We will take it anyway, just to have a few grounded shots. So I'm going to focus in on the foreground. Probably 2 shots this one. About a third of the way in. Want one big one, just to make it to us. They have been doing it today, but the tide isn't the highest tide today. It's one of those mini high tides. Come on, otherwise I've got to get closer and go wider to get in on the action. There's one. Nice. We can get you going back out. Nice. And let's see if we get a push. Come on, we want to push. We want those waves to push all the way. Want some momentum, want some fire. Nice, I think that was a good one. If we start thinking about a longer exposure, 10 stop going on. I'm going to lock focus. I'm just going to come down and increase our ISO to 100, and we're going to go again. I'm even going to put it up to a minute, and we're going to go, and we'll see what we get. Again, keeping an eye on the front element, and if I see a water spot, then I'll just gently swipe it away. And so long as I'm not there rubbing or knocking the camera, often you can get away with it. So I suppose it's I'm not sure how many people actually do this, but it's a trick that through desperation I sort of fell upon, and it works, you know, it works. Doesn't work all the time, but I probably save half the images that would normally be binned. I can save half of them in this way, and it means I can shoot when there's, you know, rain spots about, but it's not completely torrential. When the rain heavens open, then we go, you know. Okay, that's done. That good wipe. Now let's have a little look. Okay, so with this image, we've got this beautiful piece of jetty that's coming in from the bottom right, leading us out to the centre with this with the centre pylons in the middle. So it's as simple as, I'm hoping that the rocks here on the left are going to balance with that headland which is coming in on the right. So that being said, that's sort of the composition that I'm going for. I'm just going to slightly adjust this. There we go. And maybe a tiny bit less of that sky, just by feel. There's no real rhyme or reason, it's just what feels good. Good to me. Let's get it right. There you go. Okay, so now at the minute this is up to about a 2-minute exposure. Light's going down, so I'm not really going to go for that just yet. Mainly being because the light's going down, and what I will need to do is focus stack, because this near piece of the jetty is so close. So I'm just taking a little look at the histogram and just making a note of that. So without this, at f13, it's a 1/6 of a second. So I'm going to take a series of shots going out, just so I know that I've got the wood and these rocks in focus should I want them. So I'm going to do that. And again, I would love some surf. My mind's now going to long exposure because we haven't got a high tide. We haven't got this pounding surf in close enough to make that a feature of this particular. The tiny bit just coming in now. No chance of using that surf as a real feature in the image. So what I'm going to do is going to use those clouds, I think. So I'm going to throw the 10 stop back on. We've now focused. Let me just make sure we just get that right. So I'm going to focus. I'm just retaking because I never unlocked my focus. So I just want to make sure that we have those front to back. And you may notice that there's a gap of blue sky between the dark clouds and that white cloud at the top. I'm hoping that white cloud will move out the way because it just detracts, I think, from the top of the image, and if not, I'll probably trim it somewhat and just take it down. So that's us done. We've done that. I'm just going to lock focus in on those pylons, and you can see where the focus peaking is. So it really means that we've got quite a bit of that in focus as it is. I might not have to use any of it. And we're going to throw on to make sure we've got, yep, our 10 stop in. And now I'm going to play with our exposure till I get something that's quite pleasing. And the histogram sort of matches what I had earlier. So it's saying we can go for 2 minutes. I'm just going to make sure that we're protecting our highlights. 1 minute. Looks like we might blow it a touch. Sorry, ISO 100. Blow it a touch. I'll go 50. So ISO 50. Just going to go 2 minutes exposure and see what that does to those clouds for us. Thank you for joining me here at Port Wollonga. I had high hopes that maybe it would really kick off, but it didn't. We were defeated by that heavy bank of cloud. But regardless of that, I've really thoroughly enjoyed myself here, paddling about in my wellies around the seaside, listening to that water, thundering away. It's absolutely wonderful. It does, I think it's the ozone. You get high on the ozone around the seaside, so had a fantastic time. So fingers crossed our images have turned out. We haven't blown them too much, pun intended, I suppose. So all it leaves me to say is thank you for coming along with me. Look after yourself, look after your loved ones, and until next time, see ya.